Coincidence? So guys, a lot of you heard about that super yacht that wind up capsizing near Italy somewhere, right? And there was a tech billionaire on it named Mike Lynch, right? He ran a company, I think it was called Autonomous, and he wound up selling it to H&P a bunch of years back. I think I want to say 2008 or 2011. Anyway, he wound up selling the company back, and he sold the company to Hewlett Packard for $11 billion. Somewhere in there was a fraudulent thing that happened with the numbers, and Hewlett Packard wind up looking at it and finding out the company was only worth $8 billion. So they added, what is it, $3 billion to it, and then it became an issue, and they wind up going to court. Then they wind up going to court here in the United States for fraud. Anyway, about a few months ago, Mike Lynch and his little crew got off, found not guilty, or the charges dropped because there was nothing that connected him to the fraudulent, I guess, increase of his company's worth. That being said, he gets on a yacht, him and pretty much everybody involved in that case wind up dying, including the poor chef. It's like the chef always gets it. And, the chef probably knows too much. I heard some shit, whatever. But the chef wind up dying. And you guys already know what direction I'm going in, because it's a little odd that 22 people are on this boat. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was 12 patrons or customers and 10 crew members. Out of the 22 people, 15 people were rescued. That leaves 7 to be dead. The 7 that died, excluding the chef, that'll make it 6. If I'm not mistaken, they were all directly involved in the case, the fraudulent case. All right, so hold that there. So this weather anomaly happens, capsizes the boat. The media says that it was a black swan event. And when I heard that term black swan, I said, they were killed. I took that as code for whoever's reading the paper or reading the internet going, paper. No one reads paper anymore. Whoever's reading the internet going, this was done by this organization or group or whatever it was. And that they've never really seen anything like that in that area. And when it happened, they were like, oh man, this tornado's, water spurt thing just popped up out of nowhere and took this boat on the water. Okay. So everybody else wound up being rescued. But the more interesting part about this is that the people who were involved, again, excluding the chef, so with those people dying and being directly involved in it, one seems to, again, me going out there on the conspiracy theory limb, were these people already dead? And then this happened. And then it capsized, and that's why none of them made it out. Because the chances, the coincidence, and even articles are picking up going, doesn't seem right. Doesn't seem right that the people who were involved in this died in this case. One other guy who was directly involved wound up getting hit by a car a couple of days before this yacht capsized. They said that the lady who hit the guy with the car wound up staying at the scene, reporting it, the whole 9 yards. Another guy involved in this court case. And the media did pick up on it because they go, kind of weird. One dude gets hit by a car and another boat gets capsized, and that people involved wind up drowning, or I guess you could say they were drowning. Now, there's a lot of theories behind the drowning and how you can fake that. A lot of people are like, what about the water in the lungs? And there's a ton of things you can do as a diver to put water into the lungs and whole 9 yards. I'm not going to get into it because that's some shit that you have to somewhat know about, at least about the human body, to know how to do and how to go about it. And I'm not going to do that on here because I'll probably get demonetized. Anyway, very suspicious, right? That's a red flag in itself. And I find it interesting, guys, that I think Newsweek was the only media source to sit there and raise that question, that how is it even possible for the people directly involved to be killed? Now, there were 2 ladies, actually there were 2 wives that probably weren't involved but knew about the case, obviously, because their husbands were involved. They were also killed. So there were probably, I would say, maybe 4 people that were directly involved, which was Mike Lynch's daughter, Mike Lynch's, not right hand, but his lawyer, sorry, Mike Lynch himself, and then the poor chef, right? And again, the chef probably didn't know anything. Maybe he did, who knows? But the chef always gets tangled up in this shit for some reason. Anyway, that is weird in itself. Now this is going to get a little stranger. Unrelated. Well, not unrelated. It actually is related, sorry. BlackRock owns H&P. If I'm not mistaken, BlackRock has like 9% ownership of Hewlett-Packard, which is H&P. Not H&P, but HP. H&P is, no, right, HP, sorry, excuse me. And then Vanguard owns about 12 or 15% of Hewlett-Packard as well. And then Bank of America owns like another like portion of it, whatever it is. Now, again, when I heard Black Swan event, my brain went BlackRock. And of course, I do the research, I look it up, and boom, there it is. They had ownership in this. And I think this is just payback for these people inflating the cost of their business. Now, to be fair, the inflation wasn't done by Mike Lynch or anybody involved. It was done by another guy who was the finance officer for Hewlett-Packard. So BlackRock, guess what else they were involved in? The Trump assassination. And that is why it got the shortest media coverage in the history of media coverage. Ex-president gets hit by a bullet, almost killed, and the media coverage was probably, what, 5 to 7 days long, when it should have been more. No, sorry, it was exactly 11 days long. Another media company pointed out, 11 days, when it should have been 3-4 weeks long. They should have been talking about it every day. Now, of course, BlackRock's involved in that. Why? Because the kid that took the shot at Trump wind up being in a BlackRock commercial. Again, do you see the pattern that's starting to form here? They don't like the way things are going. Let's take that dude out. Oh, they fraudulently frauded us? Sink their boats. Chamberlain, that's the guy that got hit by a car. Run him over. Very interesting. Now, this is where things get a lot more interesting. The plane crash in Brazil a couple of weeks ago. 8 scientists were on it. Doctors, they said. 8 doctors, or scientists, however you want to look at them, were on that plane. One of the doctors was the lead doctor in a cancer research cure, if you will. And that involved a T cell being extracted from the body, reprogrammed, put back into the body, so then the T cells can attack the cancer cells, destroying them. These 8 scientists wind up dying in a plane crash. Now, the plane crash in itself is a little interesting because no one knows what happened, but that media coverage also died as well. They talked about the plane, they said the 8 scientists were on it, and boop, radio silence. Now, when I saw the video of the plane, I go, who's on that plane? There's only one reason a plane's going to come down in a flat spin like that and then be shown on the news and TV. I said, whoever was on that plane knew something. And then I found out later it was these 8 scientists. I'm like, it's always somebody of value on these planes when they crash. Always. It's almost always. Sorry, not all the time. But I'm going to go with 90% of these plane crashes we see. There's somebody important on that plane, connected to something weird. Now again, this cancer treatment was going to revolutionize cancer treatments. And these guys wind up dying. Now, the 8 scientists that were on the plane, out of the 60-something people that died, there were 4 doctors, that got up late and missed their flight. Lucky them. So now we got to follow those people and see what happens to them, because they were involved in this cancer research study as well. Now, the interesting thing about this plane, again, why it gets weird, this plane, guys, the plane that they were originally on had mechanical issues, and it was a more modern plane. And I don't know the models or the years, excuse me. With that, they give them an older plane from the fucking 80s or some shit, and one of the doctors on the plane is texting her father how nervous she is because of the switch of the plane and what she said was suspicious, in a text to her dad. Then they see the plane and she says, I'm a little nervous about this flight, something is bothering me, something to that effect. And when she sees the plane, she goes, I'm scared this plane is old, is what she texts him. Something in that regards. And then they get on a plane and the fucking plane flat spins and crashes. So now, guys, they're not even hiding. To the rest of the world, this looks like accidents and coincidences. But to those of us who are awake, who are noticing these things, this isn't an accident. This is not by chance. This wasn't a freak storm. The plane didn't just so happen to drop out of the sky. Things are connected. No one else wants to connect it, because when you start connecting it, you end up very, very dead. And a lot of people are scared. Now, the reason why channels like this can talk about it, because they're not worried about a fucking Negro in Manhattan talking about this bullshit. But if this video was to get some fucking movement, then it very well could be a worrying thing, because people will be like, yeah, you know what, that doesn't make sense. How did all of these things connected to BlackRock, with the exception of the T-cell research, which I'm pretty sure BlackRock's connected to that somehow, because they are connected to a lot of drugs, pharmaceutical industry. They have heavy investments in the medical field. Just saying. So I could definitely see their name being attached to this thing somehow. Anyway, guys, this is The Angry Prepper. Thank you for watching the Angry Truth channel.